If anybody thinks that, magically next year, we'll take care of all those requirements next year, it ain't going to happen, folks. It's going to be tougher next year than it is this year.
And despite making $1.3 million in cuts to spending hitting security at the county library, public transportation, the Health and Human Services Department, and capital improvements, Flagler County Commissioner Donald O'Brien says the current budget represents a more than 11% increase in spending year over year.
I just get really frustrated with the discussion of cut this, cut that. We're not really cutting anything. We're reducing increases. It's a reduction of an increase. It's not a cut. It's not if you had $100 this year and now you're spending $95 next year, that's a cut. But if you have 100 and you go to 110, you go back to 105, that's a reduction in an increase in my book. And I just get frustrated that we don't point that out.
Commissioner Dave Sullivan points to inflation to blame for the increase, noting the county keeps kicking the can down the road.
We're going to feel this for a number of years because of the high inflation rate and the way things are handled to make up for this. And that's my second point. We've been talking about making up for requirements that we've had for a number of years. We talk about it. Everybody talks about it. Well, we'll have to wait. I guess we'll do it next year. No, we're not going to do it next year. Next year is going to be just as tough or tougher than this year. There's not going to be any big windfall of money. Inflation's continuing. So we're going to face the same things next year, only we're going to have some additional requirements.
Commissioner Greg Hansen called for a budget process overhaul in future years.
We've looked at the potential increase because of property values going up. We've immediately decided through some magic formula that we're going to dole that money out immediately to the constitutionals. I think that's a mistake. I think we need to have the constitutionals submit their budgets with inflation worked into it. And we, as the Board of County Commissioners, hold that pot of money that we think we're going to get. We don't know we're going to get it, but we think we're going to get it. And then allocate it as needed to the budget requests as they come in.
This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, here to wow ya. A Palm Coast man wanted on a probation violation surrenders to the Flagler County Sheriff's Office after they say he fled from a deputy and into a home.
That started a standoff that ended fairly quick. The deputies had to respond, surrounded the apartment, and eventually were able to talk him out and surrender.
That's Sheriff Rick Staley. Joshua Norman is being held without bond at the Sheriff Perry Hall Inmate Detention Facility following his arrest on September 7th.
So not only did he go to jail facing his fugitive status charges, but then he was charged with burglary of an unoccupied home along with resisting arrest. So he just piled up more charges by more bad decisions in his life.
This is the 7th time Norman has been booked at the inmate detention facility. He's had 6 bookings between 2010 and 2013 on a variety of charges, including domestic battery, resisting an officer, grand theft of a motor vehicle, fleeing and eluding, and driving with a suspended license. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm J.P. Bazette.
There's a lot of information circulating about the so-called new COVID-19 vaccines, and Flagler County health officials are getting questions about what you should do.
Flagler County Medical Director Dr. Stephen Bickle says the vaccine isn't new per se. It's just been adapted as a result of new variants.
We have an Omicron variant, mainly BA5, but some BA4, that's pretty resistant to the old antibodies that people got from either vaccinations or infections last year, like even Delta. What's currently come up is that we have a new vaccine just being launched that has 2 antigens. Antigens are the things that trigger immune responses. It has one to the original virus and secondly to the new virus that's in circulation right now.
As for getting a booster,
the booster is recommended for pretty much anybody. Pfizer has one, Moderna has one, they're similar. The Pfizer one's for anybody over 12, the Moderna anybody over 18. And we're hoping that it will prevent even more minor infections as well as boost your immunity to severe disease.
County residents can get vaccinations or boosters at any Flagler County pharmacy. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Rich Petchke.
How did Open Door Recovery get started in Flagler County?
Pastor Charles Solano said he was where many of the program's clients are now or have been in the past. He said on a recent episode of Lifeline that after he was busted for his involvement in illicit drugs and he did prison time, he came out realizing how hard it is for people to get back into society.
I just started planning then to have a reentry and recovery ministry for people that are coming out. And it took me about 10 years to do it, 15 years. But but it finally launched in 2013 of March. We had only a men's house then. Now we also have a women's house.
Solano said that Open Door Recovery also has transition housing for men and women. The gala is coming up on November 11th. You can go to opendoorrecovery.org for tickets and info. Lifeline is on WNZF on Saturday mornings at 9 and on the Flagler radio app anytime. Tomorrow, how big is transition during recovery and re-entry? From the WNZF newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's morning news. I'm Amy Cherry.